Trigger warning. This episode may contain content that could be distressing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to New Earth Studios. Love Now by Alex Roseman. We are here in the heart of the wilderness of Dubai. From our beautiful New Earth Cafe, the Conscious Eatery, where we'll be bringing you conscious conversations with our very next guest. Please do your best to click the subscription button so you can see us evolve and grow and ultimately show up in a community near you. Thank you. And we're going to get 2 matches, please. Ready to rock?
Yeah, ready?
Yeah, well, coconut milk, yeah?
Yeah.
We're already kicked off.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to start the podcast,
Okay.
talking about matches, because,
go.
you know, it's legendary here. And, you know, doing a podcast like this where somebody just sat and had a coffee here recently, not in a studio, there's no facade. There's kind of a bit more of a chill vibe.
Chill, yeah.
What do
all
you
about
feel?
chill.
How do you
Yeah,
feel? What's your impressions of the cafe as you come in?
It's gorgeous. It's lovely. I love the chakras on the menu.
Yeah.
That caught my eye as soon as I sat down. And obviously the dogs. The dogs being allowed in as well. Yes, it's nice. Nice vibes.
What kind of dogs do you have?
Chihuahuas.
Wow, we've got a chihuahua.
Small but mighty. Have you?
4 dogs at home.
4 chihuahuas.
No, we have a pavement special.
Yeah.
We have also the pavement special. Then it was a Chihuahua, kind of Chihuahua. They said it's Chihuahua on the passport, but Dubai is a little bit different.
Yeah.
They say one thing, and then you suddenly realise they're not what the passport actually
grows
says.
into being a Rottweiler.
It's like a pincher kind of Chihuahua, so a bit bigger. And then we have a poodle, like a small, cute poodle. And then the Chihuahua and the poodle came together, and they made this sort of monstrosity. This dog that is blacker than black. I mean, seriously, it's like a ball of charcoal just walking around.
Oh.
Yeah, it's quite sweet, really.
Yeah, I think 4 is my goal.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's
Got
fun. You
4
need help, though.
chihuahuas as well. I think now I've had chihuahuas, that's it.
They're
I
awesome.
I can't have any other other dog. Even though when I walk past people in the street, I'm like, they are going to kick off, but they're like the Cray twins. They set each other off. And
The Cray twins. For anybody who don't know the Cray twins, they're British gangsters back in the days. I think Tom Hardy did a movie on it,
yes,
so you know, check it out.
Yeah, we did.
The
most recent one. But they are. I do say that. I forget about the British thing sometimes. And I do say that when I walk past people, I'm like, they're the Cray twins. And I bet they're like, what's she on about?
Yeah, what, the Cray who what now?
Who? Well, yeah, they are.
You know, I did a film called Sacrifice. A friend of mine did. I was an actor back in my 20s. And there was a gangster known as Dave Courtney. I don't know if you know him.
I don't know, maybe.
Classic gangster. He was sort of that, you know, iconic gangster. And he was in the movie.
Yeah.
The movie was a very low budget. But he passed away about a month or 2 ago. But it just sort of memories coming back of being in his home and being taken to his dungeon. That's another story for another time. There might be kids listening. So, yeah. But it's really cool to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And, you know, looking forward to delving into your life a little bit.
Yes.
And sharing what you're all about. Because you've got, like, it looks like you've got a story written all over you already.
Yeah, I do have quite a few
scattered awesome.
Around me. Yeah.
Well, what's the story? Where do you start? I mean, what does each one represent?
So a lot of them were... I suppose they tell what I was going through or how I was feeling at the time. So they don't all have like a big meaning. The one with the most meaning is this little small one that I had. My dad got diagnosed with cancer. He's still alive. He's in remission.
And he's still got his long, lovely hair?
Yeah, he lost it, but then it grew back. It was one of the hardest things that we went through because... You know, his hair was his thing. And that's what everyone said when I was like, my dad's got cancer. They're like, oh, what about his hair? And he did lose it. And then he grew back and he had like a Tom Jones afro for a while. It grew back curly and dark. And now it's back. Now he has an undercut with a top knot. And
I bet he appreciates it that much more now, hey?
Yeah. So that was a time. So that's probably the most meaningful tattoo because I was here in Dubai and obviously this was all going on in the UK and for me, I was like, it felt like I was close to him getting a dad tattoo, and I know some people might not get that.
You're feeling like the pain. I'm closer to you now, Dad.
Yeah, and then the others are just, you know, obviously flowers, going through my feminine, stepping into the feminine energy a little bit there. I have mandalas on the back that were a cover-up of stars. So moving away from, I don't know, I think the stars were when I was in my rave Ibiza days. Yeah.
Okay. Love it. Okay.
And then I transitioned to, spiritual. I was like, right, the stars need to go. So I covered them up with big mandalas. So I've got them on my back. Yeah, so there's lots of little stories for them.
I have a feeling that, before you got into this world, there was the other side when you were growing up.
Yes.
I just have a feeling. I guess it resonates from my own experiences, but it's not about me.
Yeah.
It is about you and your story. So where does one begin with something like this? What was your transition, say, from, I like to call it, just to help maybe discern, there's the old earth.
Yes.
And I call myself, the book I'm writing at the moment, there is my idiot self, which lives in the amygdala.
Yeah.
But I'm also learning about that we have parts of ourselves that all have their own personalities, have maybe been traumatized, that come up for air and we don't understand, what's going on. But that's associated with the old earth.
Yeah.
And the new earth is that transcendental place that we are a oneness. We're in our higher executive function, our higher selves are showing up, and we're all about, right, what can we do as a humanity?
Yeah.
So before you transition from the old earth to new earth, what was your old earth about?
My old earth, and I think I have two. So obviously going back further, I probably have lots, but I would say over the past, I'll just say 15 years. So I, like I said, party girl, going out, Ibiza, out at the weekends, doing all of the things, big group of people. And now when I reflect back on that, I did have a nice time, but I remember just being sat there sometimes, even then thinking, something doesn't feel right in my skin here. And just stepping, I can remember being, even at parties, we'd have house parties and just the music wasn't right and I needed to get out and I'd take myself off and, sit on my own and everyone was like, oh, you're so introvert. But it was just that it wasn't for me, and it was the same jokes every week and the same stories from people who were very much in this way of living that I was like, there's more to life than this. People who, so I'm from Stoke-on-Trent, and I feel like where I was born, it's a lot of people born there, stay there, don't go anywhere. And that sort of like shows in that when I go home now, there's people who live around the corner from the house that they lived in when I used to call on for them when I was 11, 12, and their parents still live in the same house, that type of mindset.
Sorry, bear with me 2 seconds.
So I was in that mindset as well, I think, for a bit. So I did the whole university, did my teacher training, school teacher, because that's what I thought that I had to do. That's what people did. You pick your career, and then that's it for the rest of your life, forever and ever. Amen. So I did that. And then even when I was teaching, I loved teaching. I loved sharing. I loved educating. I loved being with the kids. I was secondary school, so teenagers, inner city Stoke-on-Trent.
Wow.
They're coming to school, smelling of certain plants that they shouldn't be, that type of rough city kids. On one of the biggest council estates in the UK, actually. So it was interesting. Their aspirations were I can remember asking, so what do you want to do, teacher? What do you want to do when you leave school? And we're conditioned as teachers to want the response, college, university, pick your job. That's it, forever and ever until the day you die.
Daunting.
Yes. Yeah. So I was then conditioning these kids to think that. And even at the time, I remember saying so many times, it's really bad, your exams are not that important. And there was just something in me that was like, who says that this 13-year-old boy or girl sitting in front of me should be able to do X, Y, Z? Because they're 13. Like, who sat down and said, right, this is how a 13-year-old's mind should work? Yeah. And then they're telling teachers, if they're not doing this, there must be something wrong with them, or there's something wrong with your teaching. But there's some minds that just don't work the same way, but we're judging everyone with the same brush. And I'll always remember seeing a picture of a tree, there's a monkey and a fish, and telling the monkey and the fish to climb the tree and expecting the same result. I think lots of people have seen that, and that was always in my mind as a school teacher. So then I came to Dubai as a school teacher.
How long were you a school teacher for in
6
UK?
years in the UK, 6-7 years in the UK,
Yeah.
and then 6 years here.
So, you know, being a school teacher, because my school in London, my God, I mean, I think one of the teachers had a sort of mental collapse. And I remember just in our class, a teacher would just stand there, arms crossed, just looking at us while we just did our own thing for an hour. And then we just leave. Because they just had no control over the class. I mean, our school and our class specifically was quite challenging, I think, for anybody. I didn't resonate with school. I didn't get school. I didn't know what the point of school was. I felt I was stupid, which I'm kind of glad I did. Yeah. Because it served me. If I thought I was smart and I was in the system, I would have been fully ingrained in the system, and I would have thought this is, you know, where I'm supposed to go. So I appreciate this deficiency I had at that time. Yeah. But when you're a teacher teaching kids, and you're already in it, and you've already spent your time, you've educated yourself to be there, did a feeling show up? Did a feeling show up that when you were teaching them, did you believe what you were teaching?
No, and that's one of the reasons why I don't anymore. I can remember teaching the same things that I was taught at school and thinking to myself, these kids don't need to know this.
Cheers. Let us know what you think.
I didn't need to know this when...
No sugar.
Good.
Happy to hear.
Yes. Just teaching. I don't know if you did. You probably did, of mice and men at school.
Yep. I don't remember much from school.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bit of a haze, to be fair.
Which is probably a good thing, but I did that at school, and it was, 1930s America, the Great Depression. Okay, it's good to have history, but we're being told that history as well. Like, do they want us
to pass down that message of what is their intention, really, with this information? And then we know it's from the industrialization that, it cultivated this sort of paradigm. Yeah. But you know what? It's not good or bad. It's just the way it was. Yeah. We're leading up to where we are now with this sort of next evolution. It's the power's with us at the end of the day, right? So, okay, your journey. So from school, you're a bit, and then you came to Dubai.
The schools in Dubai are very interesting because the children are different here. So there's more of an emphasis on data and making they're a business. So it was, marketing. We were told to, if the kids did something in class, it was, why didn't you take a picture of that for social media? Oh, wow, okay. So very different, obviously different. The children were different, better behaved, I do have to say. Different kinds of neglect. You have the affluent neglect here that, a lot of the children are brought up by nannies, and you can tell. Give kids in the UK their credit because they know how to do stuff. And a lot of the kids here
are overly dependent.
Yes. I can remember asking the class, I think, just playing, just testing. So who knows how to make a cup of tea? No. Toast? No. Like simple things that they don't have to do, where the kids in the UK were getting themselves up, doing their own breakfast, getting themselves to school. And the kids here were like, oh, my nanny's forgot to pack my PE kit. I'm like, that's your job. You're 14. Surely you can do that. And then I started having even more thoughts of like, oh my God, these kids are going to be adults one day. Like, what are we doing? They need live classes, never mind still teaching them of mice and men.
You know what? I guess there's obviously pros and cons to it all. And I have to say, we've got 2 boys. Yeah. And they go to North Anglia. And we have help at home. Yep. And I challenge them to make sure there's certain things that they know how to start doing themselves, incentives and things like this. And it does, part of me gets a bit concerned, like, can they do these things themselves? I'm hearing you say this. But also, it's important that they can. But also, are we moving into a world where soon, especially in Dubai, that there is going to be help, And these are things that you can delegate now. Yeah. Because in the UK, I've lived both sides. I'm seeing both sides of the coin, being a kid in the UK and learning how to make my own peanut butter and, sandwiches, whatever else. And now in a place where I don't have to make these sandwiches myself. I got to say, either one, I kind of prefer. it's preferences, but you
Yeah.
don't want to be completely dependent where you don't know how to look after
Yeah.
yourself. So that's what you're seeing with the children in Dubai. Interestingly, when you mentioned about the marketing, was that 6 years ago? Was that nearing the? When did you leave?
I left in 2022.
Okay. Was that still?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
becoming more so as I left.
Really?
Yeah. So that was one of the reasons. Not there was that. There was data. I felt like there was a shift away from nurturing and educating to the data's got to look good, and this has to look. Everything had to look good. Doesn't necessarily mean that it was good. And I think just as I started to shift and my own beliefs and thought systems started to shift, I then started to look at the education system very differently. And yes, it has its place, and I think it's really good socially, and obviously children need to learn things, reading, writing, those that can get them through life. But then there's certain things I think, can we take that away now? Like the school system is, it was set up, in the early 1900s to train children to work in factories, sitting in rows.
9 to 5 or those kind of time slots.
Go to the toilet when the bell goes, you eat at a certain time.
Exactly.
We were built for that, and, Industrial Revolution, blah, 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 and then we had the World War One, World War Two. So it served a purpose like that then, but the world is a completely different place now. And I was just thinking, this is not, I'm teaching the same as that I was taught, and I'm sure my teachers were teaching the same as they were taught.
So that's what you're getting taught at this school was similar to...
It was a British school, so
Oh,
it
I
was British
see.
curriculum. So I can only speak from the British
Yeah.
curriculum point of view, but
Okay.
it was, the same. And the relevance here as well was very different. I remember teaching a novel, what was it? Private Peaceful, and it's UK based. I think it's World War One. The kids are walking to school. That they don't do that here. So when I was teaching this novel, it was always stop and start, and what's a robin, what's a wren, and having to explain, we walk to school. Most people walk to school in the UK, and a Spitfire went over, so the lesson turned into what's a Spitfire? They're actually made in my hometown, so typing in Stoke-on-Trent, Spitfire, to show them, Spitfire. I think a lot of children know that in the UK, and just a radiator, turn the radiators on, and what's a radiator? And it wasn't relevant to their life here. And there's lots of other things that we could be teaching that would be relevant, but it's the powers that be.
I guess it's easier that way to keep what they know. And most people like familiarity, right? They like certainty, and that's something about the English system.
Yeah.
There is this sort of passing down tradition.
Yes.
Ultimately, isn't it?
Yes.
But when did that turning point come when you were realizing that you were sort of not part of the solution, you were sort of part of the problem?
I think once I started, I think lots of people start yoga, and then it's okay. Yoga, just meditation, and being, dipping a toe into this other side of, okay, this feels good. And what the conversations I'm having with the yoga teacher, this feels good. And I was leaving feeling good. And I was going home and sitting and meditating, and it wasn't anything that I hadn't done before. I tried it, and, your mind's going, what am I going to have for my tea? Or, and I was able to do it.
Yeah.
And it was just a slow growth from there. And I actually started yoga. I always joke to say that the universe pushed me. So I skate, and I was skating along the canal downtown, and I fell and landed on my coccyx.
Yeah.
So I had 2 slip discs. So I started yoga because I was in pain. I had the sciatic pain, and I was given all of the tablets, the things. I was like, I don't want to take these medicines. So that was another thing that I was also dealing with at the time. My brain telling me, what are you putting into your body? And then being given all of these tablets. I was like, I'm going to go to yoga, and I'm going to see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? It hurts, and I don't go. I went, and honestly, I can't even tell you how good I felt after. I can remember walking home from yoga, and I was like, oh my God, I've got a new back. And doing a little dance as I was walking, I was like, this is amazing. And I went to work the next day, And obviously as a teacher sitting at the desk, and I had a whole day with no pain. So I was like, right, I'm going to go back to yoga. So it became a regular thing. So first it was physical, and then it was emotional, then it was mental, then it was spiritual. And then I was like, I want to teach other people this. So I did my yoga teacher training. And then I went home one Christmas, and I was really dreading going back to school. And I just woke up, I was like, I'm going to have my notice in. And there was just something, and I wasn't scared. The decision was made, and I just did it. So, and then here I am now.
When you know, you know.
Yeah.
So what do you think that was for you when you started going to yoga and there was something you connected to? What do you think that connection was to?
I think I connected to my higher self that I had been ignoring for years and years and years. And I know that she was always there. And she is the one that when I was at those parties and the music was annoying, and she was the one that was saying, Joanne, what are you doing sitting here? Because I would have a feeling of guilt. You know, when you've done something wrong, I would have that feeling, but I wasn't doing anything wrong. Yeah. And I was looking at people thinking, oh my God, I don't want to drink alcohol, but I was drinking it. And she was like, you don't want that. And
you're going against yourself.
Yeah. And she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, who are you? Why are you talking to me? Go away.
What is this consciousness?
Yeah, what is this? And then, and I think yoga helped me to connect to her, to that voice.
To help solidify that connection.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's interesting to know that more and more people are starting to realize that there is this higher self, this more expansive, loving, creative. When did it get to the point where you felt you could trust wholeheartedly in your higher self, which is ultimately the universe, to have your back, for you to leave a job that you trained yourself up for, that you've known, for many years, and being in Dubai, that you could suddenly just go, you know what, I have the security to know I'll be okay. When did that come about?
I think I was a very anxious person as well before I connected. And I can remember I went to the doctors once and they tried to give me antidepressants, and my higher self was, no, I didn't take, I think I took them for 2 days, and I felt blocked, but I didn't know what that meant at the time.
Of course.
And I lived in a state of anxiety all of the time. And if my anxiety went, I was kind of like, where's it gone? And I would pull it back.
Because there's a sense of familiarity, like your friend.
Yeah. It was comfortable to be anxious, even though I didn't know why I was anxious. And then when my dad got sick and he had to go through chemo and he was in an isolation ward, and I had something, and it sounds strange that I had something to worry about. There was something going on that was higher than everything that I'd been putting my attention on. So the little tiny things I was worried about that didn't exist. And that's when I first really started talking to my higher self, to the universe. And obviously it was more, please let my dad be okay. I brought him crystals, and I remember walking into the hospital, and I'd never even thought of crystals really before. I'd seen them and bought them, when you go to the museum, and didn't really know anything about them. And I radiated to this lady, and I was like, I need that. Got one for my dad. And I think then, I'm getting chills now, the chills as well. I get the chills, and I know it's my highest self like patting me on the shoulder like, well done, yes.
That's cool.
And just tuning into those things like, right, what is going on here? And I remember holding the crystals, and I had a reaction, and I was like, I was cold, but I wasn't, because it was a warm sunny day. It was in the hospital, which never cold in the hospital. And I think it was around then, because that's the time that I feel like I felt power. I'm going to use the word power, because it was very powerful. And then I started to talk to my higher self, to the universe, and things started to happen where I was like, thank you, universe. And then I'd started to ask for signs. I ask for an owl quite a lot, especially when Dubai, because you don't just see them around. And I would see a couple of hours later, I'd get an owl. And it was just little things like that I was then, right, okay, this is real for me now. And I started to lean on that more than this human side of me telling me that you should be worried about your bank balance. You should be worried about that mole on your back. You should be worried about that pain in your arm, because that's what it was before. And then I started to listen to the other side, and then it completely flipped. And I was more calm going through my dad's treatment with him than I was ever, even though that was a huge thing. That was horrible. But I did it, and then my anxiety kind of disappeared. And then it's crazy, but that's because I think I leaned in, I listened, I started to listen to my intuition, which I've been blocking off for years and years as well, because I am quite connected there. And I think back to times when my intuition was like, what are you doing? Don't do it. You need to say no. Don't go there. And I completely ignored it. And then afterwards, I was always like, oh my God, I knew it. I knew. And so it's, I think that went off on a tangent a little bit.
Not at all. You encapsulated it very well. I think a lot of people can relate. Absolutely. Especially to the whole, I should listen to myself. Why did I go against myself? And through my education, a lot of it comes down to, I say education, self-educated, not through academic means. I tried Oxford University online philosophy religion course for 3 months. Wow, that was a heady world. I was, it's like fencing, but intellectually fencing. You're like, but we're fencing. Why not dissolve this and move on? Like build the new earth already. Sort of talking in such a way that we're all getting this sort of like orgasmic pleasure, but a lot of this time is when we're children growing up, and we are not in such a safe environment that we can allow ourselves to hear ourselves, but we're actually caring for our parents. So I'm not sure if your childhood was more about caring for your mum or your dad, like you had to meet their needs and they wanted you to meet their needs, rather than going, no, we're fine, we're adults, you look after yourself. So you can create that connection with your higher self and just go through life knowing that you can manage yourself, self-regulate. But for people, I have a feeling that maybe you went through something where...
Yeah, I did. So my mum and dad actually separated when I was 6, which is quite young. And I remember I was always the only one at school that had divorced parents.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, for a while. Once I hit high school, they started to drop off. But as a young girl, and my mum had a relationship after my father that was toxic. And obviously I saw that growing up. I think I was maybe 8, 9, 10, the arguments, one Christmas Eve, I remember it was violent. We had to get taken down to next door but one, Barbara. She was sort of my mum would take me and my sister there to hide away, and it was Christmas Eve, and I remember hearing my mum's partner at the time threatening to flood the house. But
interesting.
Yeah.
Big to threaten with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Put the bath on, and he was swearing, and I'd walked in many times, and my mum was in, compromising position with him, violent. And me and my sister do actually joke, even now, even though it's not a joke, it is a joke, that we mother our mother, and we are always, we step up, and I'm the eldest as well. And then so after that relationship, my mum got into another relationship, which was better, a lovely man, but she was so damaged that it ruined that one. But from that relationship, I got my little brother. So I was 16, but helping my mum to look after the baby. And I remember being in town, like now if I see little girls, I'm like, oh my God, she's about 16, 17, she's got a baby. But that was me pushing my little brother around. And as I got older and he was older, he would come to stay at my house, and you were
like the mother figure to a degree.
A really good relationship with my brother. There's 16 years between us. Go on.
So when did that moment come in where you felt the anxiety kick in? So was that around the time the relationship, was that the time when she was going through the divorce, that you felt there was a split, that somehow it wasn't about you just being in your happy place?
Yeah.
There was a split that created this unsettling feeling.
I think when my mum was in that toxic relationship, so I don't really remember much about the divorce. I remember my dad coming in and telling me that he wasn't going to be around as much, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. I had a little black and white TV in the bedroom, and I was watching Paul Daniels, and so I'd been sent to bed, TV, black and white, and Paul Daniels was doing a magic trick, and obviously it was a black and white TV, and I remember thinking, I don't know which one's red, because the TV, black and white, you don't know the colours. And my dad came in, and he was crying, and I've obviously never seen my dad cry, but that's the only recollection I have. My mum was very good when the divorce happened. She never badmouthed my dad in front of me and my sisters. My dad's always been a big part of our life. But when she was in the toxic relationship, I just remember being nervous about things at school. And, if the teacher was addressing the class, I remember my mum tells the story of the teacher caught my eye, and I thought she was shouting at me. And I don't know if I had a panic attack, but I only must have been 8 or 9. But I was nervous, and I was nervous in school, and I was always nervous about being shouted at. But that's because at home there was a lot of shouting at times. And I think that's when it started, from around 10, 11. Then I became very aware of what people thought about me. I remember being a teenager, and if I thought my friends were in a mood with me, I would feel, the heart racing, sweaty palms, even though I'd be checking all the time, like doing something to make sure they weren't, giving me the silent treatment. And obviously then that just progressed into 20s, early 30s.
And it just sort of followed you around.
Yeah.
So for you, yoga has helped you transcend the anxiety, because
yes.
I've gone on a search. My God, so many different modalities.
Yep.
I do yoga every day now.
Yep.
I've converted, let's say, from being the gym goer. That's why I might have lost, I think, a lot of weight. The emotional stuff. Why am I actually exercising? Is it because I want to look a certain way?
Yeah.
I just want to feel good.
Yeah.
I want my spine to feel good.
Yeah.
Yoga, and you get a mat in the morning, done. Then
Yeah.
you're good for the day,
Yeah.
and you feel loose, you feel comfortable, you feel light. So I get it. I just didn't think that, from all the things I've done, if I could say, well, if you just started yoga, then I would have sorted it all out. I guess I'm not as blessed as you are in that regard. But would you say that you're now in that place where, look, obviously you've got your challenges.
Yeah.
There's certain things I'm sure coming up, but yoga has helped you on that way.
Yeah.
Where are you now?
So now, I feel with yoga, it taught me how to switch my mind off. Because when you're doing yoga, you can't think of anything else, or it's very difficult to. So when you stood on one leg, or you're, trying to feel into your body, that's where your mind is. So you're not thinking all the other thoughts that I used to think. So that's how it helped me. It helped me to switch off. So when I'm on the mat, I'm not thinking anything else but just on the mat. And then obviously I was able to, that helped me then to meditate, because then I would think, right, I'd focus on my little finger, then I'd focus on my breath, and then I'd focus on, just little things that were on me that weren't outside of me. And then that kind of then catapulted to, I could do that when I wasn't on a mat. And then when I was just sat in the car, if I felt something churning or the thought, I would say, right, not today, not thinking about you today. And I repeat in my head, and I do it now, like I am inhaling, I am exhaling, I am inhaling, I am exhaling, because nothing else can get in while I'm doing that. And then it's gone. I've sent it away. So it's helped me in that way, that I have like a spiritual toolbox of, right, what do I need to take out of this toolbox now if I'm starting to feel anxious? Breath, sitting quietly. A lot of the time I drive my car in silence. I don't really listen, I'll have music on, or I listen to audiobooks now, because even music, I feel sometimes triggers,
Well, especially certain vibrations.
Yeah.
But, you can turn your car into a university,
Yeah.
If you're driving around, you can listen to something. I have to say, when I start my morning, I have my headphones on, and I'm usually listening to a program. At the moment, it's the Prophecy Experience, and it's going into all the areas of life, and I'm doing my yoga. Yeah. And I'm listening, educating myself while I have a leg up in the air somewhere going, actually, I need to write that note down. So for me, it's... I like to stack, If I love educating myself, I like exercise. If I can just put them together and do that, So I like to like multiply my time, but
Yeah.
I also understand how much is to not overdo that, especially if I'm meditating, I'm still listening to a course, and I need to turn it off and let my higher self actually speak up and go, I'm over here, Alex, you know, here's some wisdom from within. I'm like, oh, okay. It's not always on the outside. And it's just reminding myself to find that balance, you know? So where is it taking you now? So you've done, you know, you've stepped out of the school, the conditioned world. You went, wow, there's so much more of an expansive world within. Where is it taking you now? What is it you are embodying and bringing to the world?
I have lots of ways that I have a mission to, first of all, I want to help other people to see that there's more to it than what you think. There's more to life than what you think. Whether that's through them just starting yoga, because I know a lot of people think yoga is stretching, and I hear that all the time. Oh, I'm not flexible, it's just stretching. Like, come try it, and then see. And you know, you mentioned the working out. Am I working out because it feels good, or am I working out because I want to look good? Because that's what Instagram tells me that I should be doing. So through yoga, you know, showing people that, you know, what you see on, and I know social media is such a big thing now, so I always use Instagram. You know, no one reads magazines anymore. It used to be just 17 when I was growing up, and Sugar magazine, but now it's Instagram. So what you see on Instagram isn't what we all need to strive for. There's more to it. So if you're working out, and especially as a woman, and you're going to the gym thinking you're going to get that six-pack, and you're going to, you know, have the bum, you know, the peachy bum that everyone wants.
Everyone's striving for.
Yes, yeah. That, you know, that look.
Yeah.
That showing people that that's not in a horrible way, but that's not achievable for everybody. And that shouldn't be what we all want to look like, because we're all individual. We all have our own body shapes. We all have our own, you know, we look different. So no matter how, just picking on myself, no matter how much I go to the gym, I'm never going to get a Kim Kardashian bum. So, and I'm never going to look like her. I'm never going to have thick, luscious hair without adding to it. And just showing people that, you know, we have our individual selves, and to love that instead of going elsewhere for that love. So if it's going to the gym for the six-pack, okay, amazing. But instead of just the aesthetics of the six-pack, so how do you want to feel then? What will that six-pack do for you? Is it going to make you happier? Is it going to, you know, give you longevity, sustainability, playing with your kids for 10 years longer? Or is it going to add to burnout because you're stressed out about that six-pack? So just helping people to reflect on, you know, certain areas. So that was just the exercise example, yeah.
Well, it sounds like you found your sort of, let's say, method, your tool, that's helped you connect to your higher self. So ultimately, you're inviting people in to go, look, maybe this is the methodology that's going to help you connect to your higher self. Yeah. And once you connect to your higher self, then you're okay. You'll be okay then. Yeah. Because once you connect to your higher self has all the wisdom, because it's connected to ultimately the absolute. Yeah. And the absolute loves absolutely. So when you feel that love and you go, oh, that is me, that's always been there. And the universe has always been conspiring to lead me there. I just need to find a modality that I can resonate with and practice, say, on a daily basis that allows me to connect deeply to my higher self. So ultimately your role is, come, let's say, join me so we can deepen your connection with your higher self. So once you do that, you'll be fine. Yeah. Because biologically speaking, you know, the old Earth, we're instinctively driven to find mates, to procreate, right? So in biology, we want to, you know, look good to attract to the opposite, no matter if it's Instagram or not. Instagram and all these tools are just to showcase our biology, you know, and in a way it's sort of, it's sped up this idea that we are driven by our, say, amygdala, looking to seek, you know, pleasure without pain. And so I appreciate that tool because it's made us more aware of our instincts to kind of go, that's not what I want. So what is it I actually want then? Yeah. What is this all about? So it's driving people faster to a void they feel within themselves, because they realize that they have all the tools to fill up as what they think they can, the void within. They realize they can never fill it. So what is that void when I know I'm not in survival so much anymore? Well, the void is your spirit, your highest self. that you haven't connected to yet. That's why you feel a constant void, because your purpose here is not just about that. We've actually evolved beyond the idea of survival.
Yeah.
And now it's about living a life of purpose, of serving, to connect to our higher self. That is a unique fingerprint. And your unique fingerprint has come through in this modality for now, and it will evolve with time as you draw in other people to connect with you. And this is why I love doing this, because when I meet other people everybody's got their kind of unique thing. And I've had Benita, who's a yoga instructor, but her, she had a thing about, people doing yoga maybe not the way that it was done back in the days, right? She has her viewpoints, and I challenged her on that, and really get to the point where she wants to actually teach the theory. She likes to teach more than probably the actually teaching of yoga. And I said, well, if you allow people to understand the depth of where it goes back, then they can appreciate their yoga practices that much more with people like you, wherever they go. So don't sit back, step forward with your higher self, you know, because that's your gift to show up in the world as. Because this is ultimately, what is it all about? It's not about us having the answers. We have the answers for ourselves to allow our best selves to show up in the world, to then give other people, let's say, the path to their own higher self, to then show up, and how they can show up can be absolutely beautiful in the way that we can come together. Because our higher self, there is no separation. Like you said, it's accepting who you are and loving yourself, and not committing your life to about looking good anymore. You realize, actually, my life is more purposeful than that.
It's a feeling. And I like to use the analogy of being a lighthouse for people. So, shining a light, people follow a lighthouse, and if people are ready, they're going to follow that light. And then you can have some people who are the tugboat, so they go out and they rescue, and they're pulling people through the waves, and, be the lighthouse, shine the light, people will follow. And that's kind of how, I use my social media, particularly of sharing what I think, sharing my feelings, and then the people that are like, oh, look at her light, I'm going to follow that. So, and then the people that are not quite ready, I'm not going to pull them through. Wait till they're ready, and then, shine that light on the people that are ready to or want to listen. I think I've started working with, actually, you said different modalities. So my yoga has already taken me through. So I did coaching, and now since we can mention COVID, can we? Yeah.
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, so during COVID as well, I had sort of another epiphany that came, from my higher self, the medical. And, the medical profession saved my father. But I remember sitting in his kitchen with him, and he had 20 different tablets to take. And I was like, what are all these for? And I Googled every single one and wrote down for him. And I think there was 2 or 3 that he actually needed that were the chemotherapy. The rest were for side effects, for side effects, for side effects, for side effects, for side effects. He had like constipation, then he had a laxative that would give him cramps, so he had anti-cramps. And then from then as well, I kind of was like, right, I feel like, yes, the NHS in the UK, they're overrun, they do amazing things. But then the more I looked into things that we're given, not only pharmaceuticals, but, in the food and chemicals, and teaching people about these things as well, so that we can actually get our connect to our higher self and get that power back over, we're our own body, we're in charge of this. And I feel that it's been taken away from us quite a lot. And I have lots of examples for women. I'm guessing it will be the same for men, but, as a woman. And, makeup, hair products, all of these chemicals and things that are put into our bodies. And then we go and see the doctor because our hormones are out of balance, or, we're eating too many processed foods, all of the crappy things that are in the supermarket that are so easy to get. So then we go and see the doctor, and the doctor's like, okay, hormones are out of balance, you're depressed, here's an antidepressant, or here's the pill, contraceptive pill. Off you go. So then there's millions of women walking around with this synthetic hormones in them, not knowing their own. They can't connect to your highest self fully, I believe, if you're having, if that's masked. Because I came off, that was another thing I did as well, no contraception, nothing hormonal, nothing extra in me, and that also changed it all happened around the same time. And, you know, sharing with women that, you know, you're in control of your body. And how nice would it be if we went to the doctor and said, you know, and this did happen to me, I was anxious, but I was going out every weekend, I was partying, I was drinking, and, you know, come midweek, of course I was depressed because I was on a low after being high all weekend. And I was given antidepressants. But if my doctor had said, tell me about your diet, tell me about, you know, I can't remember carrying a water bottle around with me then. I don't think I was drinking any water for a start, not sleeping or having 4 or 5 hours sleep at the weekend, drinking alcohol, everything that...
Common sense, a little bit. Just if he just gave you space to go, let's just talk, and he just listened, you'd have all the answers. I mean, anybody who's not trained could just sit there with you. Like right now, if you shared all this, you could say, well, from the outside, it sounds like you need some more sleep, drink some water, have some vitamins, eat fresh fruit.
Yes.
Let me know how you feel in a week, you know.
Yeah.
And then also be questioning, well, why are you partying this hard? You know, what is it that's going on in your life? You know, and it's these questions that allow you to reflect yourself and go, why am I?
Yeah.
Rather than the doctor clocking out, which ultimately you were doing the same as a teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, the field is, you know, you trained, you're there, now you're there. Well, I'm comfortable. I've got my salary. You know, I'm significant. I can sit here and I can dictate, you know, quality of your life. But they're not listening to their higher self, because if they were, they wouldn't probably be where they are. Or they would be, and they would be asking these kind of questions and not getting you on
an antidepressant.
On these antidepressants. They go, well, what are we trying to suppress, or what are you already suppressing?
Yeah, because that's another thing when I speak to women, and, you know, women that do come to yoga, and they'll reel off all of these symptoms, and then I ask them those questions. Well, are you doing this? Are you doing that? And a lot of them don't have time for themselves. You know, simple things that they're not doing because it's not shared. People are not giving each other permission to, you know, when I was in school, we weren't given permission, like, go home, leave at 3:00 on the bell, have a lovely weekend. If you left at 3:00 on the bell, it was really frowned upon. You were part of the 3:00 crew, which were the lazy ones that got out the door straight away. And it was, you know, I remember, I think we left 5 minutes early one day, and like naughty kids, but we were the teachers. And we just wanted to miss the traffic because we were going somewhere. Me and the girls that we had an office, and we went, and we were called in the head teacher's office the next day, and it was 5 minutes. But we were all in school 30 minutes before the beginning of the day. So, and I think a lot of people that work in corporate, you know, the permission isn't there to go home, make sure you relax, you know, turn off your emails, all of these things that once you do it, it's like, why are you not doing this? It's a no-brainer. But I see myself now as I'm giving you a massive permission slip to do all of these things for you, to, you know, look after yourself. Read the labels of the things that you're putting into your body. You know, do you really need dry shampoo? Because that's full of loads of hormone imbalancing chemicals. You know, can you not just put your hair in a ponytail? No one cares about your greasy hair. Put a hat on, you know?
Absolutely. Just get a New Earth Cafe hat on,
yes,
and you're good to go. You know, when you mentioned something before, look, a lot of people who maybe are teachers now, you know, it's such an important role as well, because, you know, where else are we going to put our kids, right? And I do appreciate North Anglia School. The reason we chose it, because I remember them saying, like, you know, we want to show children, for example, how one product from India reaches China, and, you know, the whole chain and everything. I thought that's information that's worthy of knowing, you know, learning the world and how things work. And the kids now, you know, our eldest is 14, learning about, you know, limited company liabilities and things like that. I'm like, wow. I mean, he could teach me something about business. I mean, I need to learn from the foundation up, you know. So we're looking at what's, you know, valuable skills. I didn't want it to be the traditional English education. And when I saw that, I thought that's something that's actually worth learning.
So IB school?
North Anglia.
Yeah.
So it's not, you know, and that's what, I didn't know why. I just had an instinct with my wife, and before we even came to Dubai, like, that felt like the place to put the kids, you know, and it's got like 78 different nationalities there, and like a West End looking theatre and everything else. But there is something about, you know, like you said, you left at 5 to 3. Your time doesn't belong to yourself. And, that is the cost of a little bit of your soul when you have to exchange your time for money because you're working for a company that says this is the time. We own you at this time. And it's hard to be a teacher, not have to follow times, of course. There's that feeling, I've been there, where you feel like you're exchanging your time for money. It's like you're, how do I say it on this? Like trading from the earliest times, sex trade and things like that. To a degree, it's a similarity because you're giving up your body at the end of the day for an exchange of something. And I think we're starting to get to that place where the higher self is not privy to that kind of world, the old earth, that we're stepping into something else here about, what is our purpose? What is the result we're going with? And how do we live in this world where we can operate from that place and not exchange our time for money anymore? Because we got in our team, one of our ladies, Annette, she wanted to try it out and step out of the new earth for a bit, and she joined a corporate company. The salary was nearly twice as much or something like that. She was like, wow, I can't wait. Within the first day or two, she was like, what, how, like, I think desperate, like crying, because that feeling of not being able to see her children, you're suddenly like, oh, we're paying you this much, so we kind of own a part of you. This is what you want, right? And within a week, she was out, and she came back and was like, look, I'm cool here because we don't, you can work wherever you want to work from, your home, do whatever you need to do, just get the job done whenever you can get the job done. Like that's all that matters. We don't care about owning you. No one should be owning anybody, but we're conditioned to a degree. That's what the industrialization is about. It's going into places where now you're owned. And then you feel like you're having to work to keep your job. Like you need to work to pay for your job. And I noticed when I was in London, I was working going, God, it costs money to have a job. Do you know what I mean? It costs, what? Wait a minute, what's going on here? And I started like sort of working this out. Like, how much does it cost me to have a job? Will I ever get out of this job? And if you don't ask yourself these questions, you kind of think that one day it will just sort itself out. And then you can realize 5, 10, 20 years down the line, go, whoa, it hasn't got any better.
And we're all conditioned as well to, work to this magic this retirement, and this is seen as like the golden era. And I always think, like, what if that was flipped? What if it was, pushed on us that, why don't you enjoy your life while just enjoy your life? Doesn't matter what age you are, instead of working to this golden retirement age. But again, that's a conditioning that's kind of within us that you go through until the time where hopefully you do connect and someone or something within you tells you, actually, you only, you have one life. Well, in this lifetime, you're here for this one.
Well, you don't want to be waiting to think, well, my next life I'll do better. But you're here now, and who knows what's going to happen, right? And for a lot of people, what are you going to retire to? Because once you leave and you are retired, that means you're pretty much hanging out your gloves to your life. And most people clock off, after. In fact, most people who usually drop dead from a heart attack, statistically speaking, is a Monday morning. Because they have to do another round. Going to work at the start. And I guess it gets to a point where you go against yourself so much that you don't know who you are, that you don't even know why you're doing what you're doing. And you suddenly realize that you are a slave. And it's not to blame anybody on the outside. It's a decision. When you decided to connect to your higher self, nobody could then own you anymore. You were like, wait a minute, my soul isn't for sale. My higher self is right here. So I can just leave. You do start to see everything without the rose-tinted glasses of, hang on a minute, I'm an actual person, but there's these people that don't even know me and never going to meet me. I'm signing this contract. They don't know me. They don't care who I am. They'll just replace me when I leave anyway. But no one ever sits down and tells you this. It is that connection of, once you've realized it and you're like, hang on a minute, who are you to tell me what to do? Because once you have that connection with your higher self, it's within you. And we spend so much time, looking elsewhere for approval and, going to work every day. Like you said, we're told to do that, and it costs us money to go to work. And like,
well, was it Henry Ford? You might know that came up with the, so it was him. He's not even here now.
Well, and he was an entrepreneur at the end of the day who, led the way on. I mean, he helped actually cultivate sort of America with the way they set up the houses so that it was long enough drives so you need a car, And he also had the quote of going, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right.
Yeah.
He was a brilliant man in that regard, and also, pioneered certain things that just, everything's by divine hand. When you step into understanding of the universal laws, you realize that you can't have one without the other, positive or negative.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to understand that, once we pull away and we realize everything is happening the way it's meant to. And I had a conversation with...
It's for us instead of to us.
Yeah, exactly. And it is. But it's easier said than this when you say you're in, a worn, torn country and people... I've had people in a conversation go, well, is that the divine hand and everything else? And I get it when you're emotionally entangled in something that is grotesque as war, because it's so raw at its core. It's so hard not to see victims. It's so hard not to see villains.
Yeah.
It's so difficult not to be in the game of duality.
Yeah.
But when you're not emotional and you're in your higher self and you see things as they are in a loving state, you're more objective. And when you're in that place, we're able to see there's no sides. There is no victim. There is no villain. It's a matter of perspective, and it's very difficult for people to hear and understand something like that, because I've been in a place, I'm sure you have, when, in the old earth, that, I blamed and pointed a finger. And even when I step out the new earth, I'm going back to my old earth. I'm not saying I'm there all the time, but I'm learning to discern, to step into a place of love and not to blame. But as soon as we're emotional, we're seeing one side worse or better than what it truly is.
Yeah.
That's when we're emotional. Now, it looks like, you're cool and calm here now. When are you the most triggered?
The first thing that comes into my head is traffic in Dubai, but I've learned to deal with that. I feel now that I'm most triggered when, and I think this maybe comes down to be feeling like I'm stuck in the old earth, when I feel like someone or something is trying to control or tell me what to do. And it sounds like a moody teenager, like, don't tell me what to do. But when I feel like that, something that doesn't feel right with me, or taking away something that, excuse me, this should be up to me, not you, then that really, I'm triggered by things like that. And sometimes it can be something really small. COVID was difficult because of, obviously, all of that was taken away from us. Even I remember when it was the very beginning and masks were kind of like, they weren't here yet. And I was saying point blank, I was in my apartment, I am not wearing a mask. No one can tell me to wear a mask. No one, and it's like them saying, you have to wear your red jumper today. I'm like, excuse me, no, I choose what I want to wear. And I really struggled with the whole mask thing, the whole COVID thing.
Vaccination and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yes. And because I was like, who are these people that do not know me to tell me I can't leave the house, well, at all, for a point? And then I know it was strict in lots of places, but then the silly rules that we now know were silly, of the 6 feet away that people just plucked out of the air, and the masks, we now know that was also probably not needed, and the social distancing and being in a place and you can sit there with your mask off and have a cigarette, blow poison all over the place and the chemicals, but you can't stand next to your friend without your mask on, those type of things. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just, I struggled through that time. And then anything like that now pops up, that sort of, you can't do that. Like, who says? Because this is a free planet. It's only someone came along and said, I own this bit, so now I can tell you what to do. But if you were here hundreds and thousands of years ago, this wasn't owned by anybody. There were no borders. There were no names on things. And I feel like within me. There's that's like, no.
Well, what got you to become a teacher?
I think because I was stuck in, I don't even know what. I didn't really have a dream to become a teacher. I think it was just a case of finish school, go to college, decide on a job. And I liked the idea. I actually wanted to be a solicitor. When I went to college, I did law, I did business studies, and then something changed from between the age of 17 to 18. So when I went to university, I did an English degree. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'll be a teacher. So it was, and I did have a favorite teacher at school. And I remember being at school saying, if I'm ever a teacher, I'm going to be like Miss Lowe. And so I don't know if that sparked something in me.
So she inspired you?
Yeah, she was an English teacher as well, actually.
How did she inspire you?
I just liked how she told stories, and she was the first teacher that had ever been a real, like she told us that she used to work in Superdrug or something, and like she had black hair and she was a goth when she was a teenager, and she would talk about herself.
Okay.
I don't know if when I was a teenager maybe I liked that because we weren't doing any work, but I liked her because she was real. She wasn't just this teacher at the front of the class.
Okay, so she wasn't a facade. She wasn't being fake.
Yes.
There was something real about her. So you connected to her realness.
Yes.
So you felt inspired by being authentic because you maybe not felt authentic at the time.
Yeah.
Because you were anxious, you were worried about
Yeah.
obviously what people thought of you, and then you thought, wow, there's somebody who's willing to be
person.
like, because she's a teacher,
Yeah.
you know, she has authority as well.
Yeah.
So there is something of that. So it seems like that steered you in the direction of being I want to be authentic and have, it seems like you wanted to reach children like you when you went to school.
Yeah.
That maybe were struggling about being authentic. So you wanted to be as authentic as you could be
Yeah.
at school. Did you feel you were as a teacher, or did you feel that slipped away and you were like, this is not the way I expected it to go?
I think, to be honest, I was quite a rebellious teacher, so yeah, I think I did. There were times, no, actually, I think I was quite a rebellious teacher.
What does that mean?
So I wouldn't always, we would be a staff meeting, right, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And if I didn't see the point, like how is this going to help the kids, and I wouldn't do it. So certain things, like silly things, this should be on your PowerPoint, this symbol. How is that going to help them? It's a picture of a brain. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to do it, and I didn't. And then the more I did those things and realized that no one actually cared, no one ever came in and shouted at me, the more I was like, no one actually cares.
You made it your own.
Yeah. So then I sort of went, so I did what I needed to do. I was professional, but there were certain things like no. But then I also felt like that took away my creativity. And we were told what we had to have in lessons and how to say it and script, and this should be here. And then I was like, no, I became a teacher because I like creating lessons. I like doing that. So I'm not doing that either. So I was quite
rebellious against, it seemed like, authority.
Yeah.
So so then you go into now school, you're teaching. Did you feel like you became low to children, or do you feel like you weren't quite there yet?
I'm not sure. I did have, like when I was teaching as well, it was funny that you've just mentioned actually teaching children like me, because as you said that, I thought, like, I always had like a group of girls that would come and sit with me and chat with me, and I didn't think at the time until you've just said it that they were probably me, and they radiated to me. Like they would come and sit and like, Miss, can we sit in here and eat our lunch? And especially in the UK, I had this group of girls that but I've not really ever put that together actually until you've just said. So
well, there's a pattern to everything. There's no coincidence.
I have them on social media now, and they're always like, oh, you're our favorite teacher, and they've got their own children now. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So you inspired them. So maybe coming to Dubai, you realized that the character then just didn't work here in Dubai, because was it a little bit more strict in the school here, like the system? So that part of you, that authenticity, was not able to grow as much in the system here.
Yeah.
In that particular school system.
Yeah, and the school that I was at did go through a lot of management changes, and So every single manager had their own vibration. When I first came, it was very like high vibe, and it was a bit like being at university again, because everyone, we were allowed to leave at 2:30. After the kids went at 2, we were allowed to go. So you had like
a bit more flexible.
Yeah, and it was like, wow, this is really good. And then over the years, there was head teacher after head teacher, and the vibration of the head teacher just got more and more
heavy.
Strict head teacher, yes, yeah.
I see. So suddenly you were the teacher, sort of became the kids.
Yeah.
To the headmaster.
Yeah. And as my vibration was lifting.
Yeah.
The school vibration was
balancing
lowering.
itself out.
Yeah, and I was up here then, and then that was down. They were down there.
What's your biggest challenge at the moment?
The thing that I'm working on at the moment, so it's more of an internal challenge, I think. I put this down to having a bit of a witch wound. So I was definitely a witch,
You're getting on well with my wife, that is for sure.
So definitely have a bit of a witch wound, and I think I still keep myself quite small because I'm afraid of being seen, and I think that's a challenge. So yes, I might do all singing, all dancing reels on Instagram, but that's just me in a room with the camera and being creative. But when it comes to anything bigger or other things, I feel myself not wanting to speak out, not wanting to be heard or be seen, and it's certain things. And then obviously now, because I'm freelance, I need to do that.
Okay. So you need to step up and be seen, but your challenge is that you're feeling
like people don't want to see me. But again, that comes from the witch wound of I can't speak out because I'm going to get accused of being a witch, which is fine. But I think that's my biggest challenge, and that I'm working on now, that every morning I connect to my higher self. I ask her, what do I need to know? And I channel whatever she says. I write it down, I read it back. And then, so my process at the moment is doing whatever she tells me. So whatever, and I'm really not conscious of what I'm writing there. I'm not thinking, it's all in third, you need to do this, and Joanne talk. So I take that, and that's how I'm trying to get through this.
It's not the first time I've heard this, especially from women, that their fear, the witch wound, who knows, passed on from one generation to the next, that you being seen or heard may attract unwanted attention that could harm you in some way, which is absolutely true in every regard, because when you are seen, there is a risk of people not agreeing with you.
Yeah.
That goes part and parcel, because you can't have everybody agree with you. It wouldn't be balanced.
Yep.
So what is your fear really of, what are you really feared of being judged for? What is it what would be the most hurtful thing somebody could say about you?
Because when people do question or they go against what I say, there is a part of me that's like, yes, because it means that I can have a conversation with this person now, because I can ask them, okay, I'm never going to be like, I am right, but let's talk about this. Tell me a little bit more about what you think, because maybe I need to know more about your side. So I try and use it as a conversation spark, or I've not thought of it from this point.
What side are you on?
I am on, I don't know, I don't think I'm on a side. I'm on my side.
Yeah, but when you said I'm right, but I want to hear about your side.
Oh yeah.
So I just wanted to know in context.
I was just thinking then of someone that wrote something on one of my Instagram posts the other day.
Yeah.
The post was, what was it? Oh, isn't it funny that people who eat healthy food, we call it a diet, when it's not, it's just food. But because junk food is so normal, that the healthy food is a diet. And, I've had people say to me that, why are you on a diet? I'm not on a diet, I'm just eating vegetables because I want to nourish my body. And that was my post, and I think I'm eating in it. It's nothing exciting, it's just writing on the top of it. And someone commented that something about that's what society wanted, because society wanted convenience. And I was like, right, okay, yeah, society might have wanted convenience, but it doesn't need me now. But and straight away I was not ready for an argument, but I was ready with my reply. So when you said that,
So it triggered you, like a trigger,
yeah,
emotional.
yeah.
What did you read it as?
I guess I read it as I wanted them to know that they shouldn't be eating convenience food. So I wanted to give them all the information of, we don't need this convenience food. Convenience food was actually made after the war. I don't know if in World War One, and then they were signing up for World War Two, and everyone was really underweight. So they started putting more in the food to fatten people up and get them stronger. And then it's just carried on. And obviously it's gone too far.
You mean like processed food?
Yeah,
Okay.
and convenience, like the stuff that people eat a lot of now. So when they said that, I kind of I was ready to educate and to tell them why they shouldn't be eating, look after your health. And so I think that trigger of, please don't do that.
But where did you learn that from in regards to the health and, educating others? Because when I hear the should, it's an external.
Yeah.
Right. So something from the outside. Where did you learn it from?
I guess most of the things that I believe in now are all self-reading podcasts. When I did my wellness coaching and just learning about the things that I'm putting in my body, that then educating other people on.
Okay.
I don't want to use a microwavable food and plastic and all of the salts.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah.
I used to eat these things, microwave meals and food poisoning from, I think, Marks and Spencer's curry.
And they are right then, actually, because it's convenient that in what they said. Because we go for convenience, don't we? We want, when we're in, used to.
Well, I think that's what it is when you have somebody challenging you, because it's, obviously there's a certain belief that you have.
Yeah.
What is convenience to somebody else? Well, if convenience is they don't feel like they have the time, they want to save money, and they feel like it just sustains them enough, they're meeting their values, right? But for you, it's a deeper meaning that obviously you see the long-term plan of it all, and you want to educate people because you care about people. But then you're challenging somebody else's viewpoints, right? Like, well, it's easy for you. Maybe you earn more money, and suddenly you're getting back and forth. But it's really understanding what that person's values are and what is it about your post that has, attracted this. So it seems like, you're getting something, though you don't mind it. Because I was the same, like with first posting thing, then people would challenge me, and I suddenly was like, because I had that anxiety thing growing up. I had my own challenges from childhood, and I didn't like it. I didn't know if I was secure in myself enough to trust myself to be able to handle, challenging their challenge,
Yeah.
But then suddenly something just shifts and you just go, I'm standing in my truth now. And I'd rather, have the world against me than my own soul.
Yeah.
So are you in, what is stopping you now from, say, completely getting seen right now? What is that thing?
I think, so when I've been sort of sitting with this and when I do close my eyes, because that's when I connect. I bet you do that when you're talking. When you're talking about your higher self, you close your eyes because that's where they are. Just walk around with my eyes closed all the time.
Yeah, hopefully that higher self will guide you around.
So what comes down to me a lot is it's a fear, and when I've been sort of doing the work and going back, it's a fear of rejection. So, and I don't know where this stems from. It might be my mum and dad divorcing when I was younger and feeling rejected by that home that we had. I've not been able to find where this fear comes from. But when I speak to my high self, she always, and I've wrote it down, like, stop being scared of rejection. And I think that's the one thing that, being seen and sometimes keeping myself small is that fear of rejection. And I know that that's always been there for me as well. Like, funny, when before I'm in a relationship now, but years when I was dating, I would send a message. I would send a WhatsApp, text message, whatever, and hide my phone after, like physically hide my phone under a pillow, or I'd switch it off, because if it was a message to a gentleman, that I had that fear of rejection then, and I would leave. I remember taking the dog for a walk as well once, because I didn't want to deal with the response or no response, and that was when I was living in the UK, so that must be maybe 10 years ago. And that's transpired now being freelance and working self-employed, that I still have it's that rejection, I guess.
I resonate, because I have that thing when a message comes through, I'll put it around. Like, I don't want to face it. Like, I don't want to face, and I get, for myself, it's, if I've said something and I feel like it's come from here, emotional, then I'm afraid of hearing it back, because it's like a boomerang, whatever comes, comes back, and it's emotional response that somehow I don't want to feel shame. Like, I don't want to be shamed for something because I was emotional. And that's ultimately what it can be about. Like, we're doing a podcast now, you're talking, I mean, you're confronting it, it's going to go out there, who knows what might happen. And I also have those feelings come up when I'm talking so frankly and freely, I'm just speaking, and certain things might come out and somebody might challenge me, and did I say the wrong thing? Did I say the right thing? It's difficult to live in a world like that when, at the end of the day, I enjoy the feedback. I remember one time I got a comment, and somebody said something about when I mentioned the long walk to freedom. Completely lost my mind. South African president, the one who,
Nelson Mandela. I don't
yes,
know.
Nelson Mandela. Oy vey. And somebody made a comment, because I was talking about Nelson Mandela and how he forgave, when he was in prison, and somebody said something like, "You don't know anything about Nelson." I was like, "Do I not? Did I say something that wasn't?" So I read his book. I thought, well, I'll just read his book. And then I looked back at I didn't even remember I didn't look back at the comment. I just remembered it in my head and go, I didn't think I actually said anything that was, I've read the book and I still stick by my comment. So sometimes it's people are just going to say whatever they're going to say, and it's not, and I've also do it myself. I guess it's our own fear that whatever we read or whatever we hear, we internalize it to mean something about ourselves. So our podcast, we're saying something, whoever's listening to it is going to hear what they were going to hear to trigger whatever is going on in them. You can't be responsible for every single person of what's going on in their internal world, because one person could hear it and go, wow, and with the universal laws in place, wow, and somebody goes, ugh. Somebody's going to love you, somebody's going to hate you. It's just the way things are going to be balanced out. So when you realize that everybody's really, one, who they love the most of themselves, and they also hate themselves the most, you don't really factor in too much. And if you're worried about what other people think about you, you're going to be wasting your time. Because it's all subjective anyway. Even what they view of themselves is subjective. So if you're just going out there and going, well, I remember hearing this before, does it matter, are these people going to pay my bills if I don't put myself out there? As in, they're not the ones who are going to sort my life out. I need to go out there and put myself out there and just be willing to do it. Deal with whatever comes, because I'm going to grow with the challenges. Because you can't have challenge without support. So it's just stepping out there. This is why this podcast is happening. Certain conversations I've had on here, I'm thinking to myself twice going, so I edit, but I'm doing my best to keep it as authentic as possible. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Because straight after a podcast, I can be quite emotional and go, oh no, like I'm actually thinking myself, worst case scenario, like cafes closed down or something. You know what I mean? Like, people with pitchforks coming or something. But then after a few days and a week, you calm down and you can look back at it and go,
it's okay.
But those listening to it might feel a certain way. But it's not to get the clicks, not to do that. It's just a natural conversation. But ultimately, that energy that's charged up for people, isn't that how the whole social media is built up in the first place? The energy that they suddenly feel, emotions, and suddenly they're clicking or commenting and things like that.
And I think social media is a very funny energy anyway. Obviously, it's got all of its good sides, I wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for social media. There's certain people that I wouldn't have in my life if it wasn't for social media. But like you've just said, the clicks and the comments and how, and I always, what do they call them? The trolls, the internet trolls. And it's the same with people in traffic, actually. When they're protected by the car. And I always imagine taking that out, and if you bumped into that person in the street, would that person who commented on your post or that commented on my post, would they say that to your face? Would it be the same energy of you know, and when someone's peeping in the car and they're crazy and they're mad, and I wonder if you were walking behind me in the mall and I was walking a bit slow, would you come behind me and start making a beeping noise?
Oh, of course, because people are a lot braver when it comes to, you know, messaging. And it's not about us anyway.
Yeah.
You know, anything what anybody says is nothing to do with us.
Do you think, on the proviso of, you know, if you do say something, that if someone does comment, do you sometimes think it's because you're holding that mirror up and you're asking them to ask themselves those questions, or...
Well, everything's a projection, right?
Yeah, putting... Oh, sorry, I hit the microphone.
It's okay.
Just bang. Yeah, you're asking them to... If something triggers them from what you've said, and then you know, if someone does comment, and sometimes, you know, I don't always reply, or I'll just give it a love. I'll give it a love heart. You can't be mad at love. I'm not going to reply, and, you know, I'm just going to love the comment, because thank you for commenting on my, you know, you're halfway across the world, I don't know you, thank you for showing me some love. So that's kind of...
I have challenged people before when I kind of was, I guess, more involved, and I would have, you know, get a conversation, because I actually want to find out where does this all come from.
Yeah.
And they're first like, and then you start to ask them challenging questions, and then they suddenly slowly disappear because they're like, whoa, it's getting too real, you know? And it's kind of, I know, it's enjoyable sometimes.
Yeah.
Depends how far down the rabbit hole you want to take people. They're like, no, thank you. And, you know, depends how much time you have. But like, that's why people get into Twitter battles and they spend all this time. I'm not looking to play that game, you know? And I notice that comments come in when you're seeking approval or you're feeling proud about something, you're going to attract a certain amount of trolls to bring you back into balance. It's called the licensing effect, which is a universal law in play. Anytime you feel proud, and the last guest I had on, Dan, he was telling a story about the IRS, and they came with a huge bill. And I said, they came in at a time where you probably feeling the most proud. And he was like, yeah, I was feeling very proud. I went, well, what's the opposite of pride?
Yeah.
You know, it's shame. So then you just come and bring you back into equilibrium. So rather than waiting for the universe to intervene, self-regulate.
Do it yourself.
So the new earth is about sort of self-regulating. If I'm feeling proud too much and I'm suddenly seeing these comments, I'll be like, thank you, troll.
Yeah.
Or whoever it is, you're doing what you need to bring me back into balance. If I feel like I'm a bit like in my ego or something.
Yeah.
So they're all just a feedback mechanism to bring us back into equilibrium. So when you know that the universe is actually on your side, and it's actually saying, get out there, be seen. And whatever's going to come back, it's just going to help regulate you so you don't get lost in your ego. Yeah. You're lost in this sort of, it's all going to be more positive than it is negative. Yeah. No, it's all going to be balanced. You're going to get the support and you're going to get the challenge. Yeah. No matter what, anyway. Yeah. And if you don't step up and do it, you're going to create circumstances in your life, your father's illness, or maybe an illness within yourself, or a car accident, something that's going to knock you into becoming who you need to be. So rather than waiting for the universe to conspire and kick your ass, you may as well kick your own ass
do it yourself.
And do it, because something's going to have to come along and be a catalyst. Like most people, when they're disbalanced, some event happens in their life to wake them up. So I'm a prevention better than the cure kind of guy. You know, I'm like, all right, let's step out there, let's do whatever it is. Let be an epic failure. I don't even care, because at least it's under my terms. Yeah. I'm not going to be pulled kicking and screaming by the universe, you know? And this is what it's all about. So maybe that might bring you comfort, because when you're a kid, there was a time in your life that you must have felt rejected for being... Let me say, what was the youngest moment in your childhood that you remembered when you felt you were seen but you were rejected simultaneously?
When my mum was in this toxic relationship, that... her mind space was obviously, she wasn't able to give the space or give me and my sister space or hold space for me and my sister. Obviously, we were only little girls. So I feel that maybe I was trying to get attention. Not that I wasn't naughty, but maybe I was always a bit of a... It's funny now, actually, when I make YouTube videos and stuff, my mum's like, you used to prance around like that as a little girl in the living room. I'm like, okay. And I think... that, but because my mum couldn't, she was, you know, as an adult now I see what she was going through, and I, funnily enough, had a relationship that mirrored that when I was in my early 20s. Of course I did, because that's what I'd grown up and had seen, that this is how men speak to women, and He loves me. That's why he's
So your earliest
shouting.
memory.
So earliest memory, I think there's not one memory, but it's a feeling.
Yeah, go on.
A feeling of wanting to do things for my mum, but her not being able to because she wasn't emotionally there. She was emotionally upset over everything that was going on.
So when you were seen by her boyfriend or partner at the time where you felt like you were seen and you felt afraid of being seen by him?
I don't think he really, I only have bad memories with
That's
him.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't.
Because this is what it's about. You're
Yeah.
afraid of being seen.
Yeah.
So was there a moment when you felt young, when you were seen by him, that you kind of didn't want to be seen by him, that you
Yeah.
were scared to be seen by him?
I can't answer for my sister. We weren't really allowed to be little girls, I guess. So it was very much, like I said, I'd be dancing and singing and it was be quiet, that kind of, and that's again, it's a feeling. There's not one memory, but I just remember not being allowed to do all those things, and that's why I loved going to my dad's house at the weekend, because we could play. And
So he challenged you that when you were being yourself, when he didn't want to see you, so he suppressed you.
yeah,
You felt suppressed and you
Yeah.
were attracting unwanted attention because you got criticized,
yeah,
and that shut you down.
yeah,
So ultimately he is a manifestation of why you don't want to be seen now,
Yeah,
because you weren't able to be truly
Yeah.
be seen, because you didn't have a loving figure that you felt, but he challenged you.
yeah.
When you were challenged, where were you getting supported simultaneously?
I don't think anywhere, because
Impossibility.
not within the house, possibly.
Within your own mind, because there's something called homeostasis. So when he
Well-
challenged you, what did you say inside your head at that time?
I would. This is where my high self comes back in again. I used to talk to. I would go to. Well, I'd be up in the bedroom, and I used to close my eyes really tight,
Yeah.
and I had this figure, which I still talk to now, that I used to just call yellow because it's yellow, and now I know it was my higher self. I used to go and talk to that.
So when he challenged you, you found support of your higher self.
Yeah, yeah,
Now, just realize that for a moment, that this man who you did not like,
yeah,
the one who challenged you the most, and your mum, actually helped lead you towards
yeah,
talking to your higher self.
yeah,
When you realize that the universal law in play is actually serving you, no matter what happens, that you're not just challenged, you're also supported. And this
Yeah.
guy helped
yeah,
to solidify this higher self, because he challenged you
Yeah.
that much, that your depth of the love you needed to find, of support within yourself, showed up. Doesn't that, how do you feel about that? Because does it bring like a tear of gratitude to you, that to know that suddenly, wow, actually it was always there?
It's always there. Yeah, it is. It's that tingly. The tingle's on the right because she's there. She's telling me that she's always she's always been there. But yeah,
So-
it's crazy.
So you
Yeah.
said to yourself, well, you didn't know where it came from. Well, let's say it came from there, your earliest
Yeah.
memory. And if you know that you were challenged as a little girl then by a guy that you were sort of scared of,
Yeah,
but the support was also there,
yeah,
what is there to stop you now?
yeah. Just go to my bedroom and rub my eyes.
But
Yeah.
you see what I'm
yeah.
saying? I
No,
mean,
no,
you're
yeah,
now a
I do.
woman,
Yeah,
and your fear was obviously to be seen, but
yeah,
of course it makes sense, but
Yeah.
you realize that you can leverage on your higher self that much more. So if you're
Yeah.
challenged by getting out there, you got your higher self is going to show up even more
yeah.
to
yeah,
counter the challenge you may face
Yeah,
for being seen.
yeah.
Does that give you some level of comfort that you
Yeah.
feel? Do you feel that anxiety still there, or do you feel like actually that's not so much?
Yeah,
it's not there so much anymore.
Not here, not in my soul. And now I understand about the chakras as well. Like, obviously, the solar plexus was where my anxiety used to manifest, and that feeling of like, oh, that horrible feeling. But when I think of that, it's, the heart chakra. I've sat up straight. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah, I noticed. I'm like, that's my
Yeah,
my
just
spine's
like,
about
yeah.
to come out. So
Yeah.
now we're in this space. What action are you going to take to solidify it? So to show to that little girl then that it's okay. We're going to be seen. We don't have to worry about him anymore, because he was actually serving us. He needed to show up in
Yeah.
my life for me to have that relationship with yellow,
Yeah.
ultimately. So what does that look like now?
So that now is just a massive reminder to when I do get that, what am I doing? I can't do that. I can't say that. I can't post that. And this might happen, that might happen. If it's just shut all of that off. Obviously, that's all my ego anyway. Just tuning in, letting my higher self it's just a reminder of I have the strength and the power within me to do that. I don't need that protection from whatever's trying to protect me. And just do it. That's what my higher self always says to me as well when I'm writing. And the amount of times in my journal in the morning, it probably ends with just do it, just get it done. And
you know what? This is that moment you feel when you feel like you shouldn't, is that resistance of him coming up, because you being your authentic, natural light was just showing to him what he didn't have within himself. And it was difficult for him, obviously. And you don't need to suppress that any longer. And you also have your higher self there.
Yeah.
And also, you can mother and be a parent to that little girl as well.
Yeah.
You know, to say, it's okay, let's go and dance.
Yeah. Well, that's why I started roller skating again, because that my inner child was like, she was like, get on skates, get on skates, get on skates. And because I got on my skates and I hurt my back, then I became a yoga teacher. And then it was all, you know, it was painful, but I thank her for that.
It led you towards where you needed to get to.
Yeah.
So next time you're feeling that way, you know, it's just checking in yourself and going, right, if I'm feeling that means I must do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to allow that feeling of fear to suppress me, to stop me from showing up.
Yeah.
In fact, that's when I need to double down. And the more you practice that, the more you're going to be led by your higher self. Then you're just getting out your way completely. And then you're just going to go,
yeah, that's it. Moving out of
flow. And then you're just, it's just a matter of you showing up for yourself. You already know it.
Yeah.
It's there. Now you know where it stems from.
Yeah.
You see the pattern.
I've never pinpointed it before. I just knew, yes.
This is my thing. I love to find the patterns. I love to untangle the vines, you know, just go, oh, okay. And also not just to see it there and tell yourself a story that you're a victim, to say actually the divine universal law was in play, that there was support when I was challenged. I just needed to go back to that moment and see it.
Because I've never actually thought about, that's what I used to do. I used to go upstairs, squeeze my eyes over my eyes, and yellow would be there. And it was obviously in my 20s when I wasn't connected. That dimmed, and as soon as I started connecting again, I was like, what the hell? This is that little thing this floaty thing that I used to talk to. It's funny that it's yellow, actually. I'm just thinking, I'm having a new car next week, and my car, I picked yellow.
Hello.
It's not that when I was,
I think your coaching logo or your yoga thing needs to have yellow.
Yeah, yellow.
Yellow's the thing. I mean, yoga kind of feels like
yellow's the colour of abundance as well.
Sun, yellow.
Yeah.
I mean, when that's lit up, our New Earth emblem is
Yeah.
yellow. So light, let's say, yellowy light.
Yeah, because when I didn't actually, yellow's abundance. And there's some things that I'm moving into. I was like, right, new car, new chapter. It's yellow, abundance, stepping into that. And now it all makes sense, yeah. So
I usually get to this place right at the end. I'm like, am I going to be able to, is something going to come out of this in a sense that we can there you go. Yes. Your higher self has always been there. And if it wasn't for the challenges that you had in your life, you would never have found your higher self. So invite the challenges into our life in the sense that we know we're growing. Because if we just have support, we go into entropy. So you need that balance. Otherwise, what are we here for?
Yeah.
So it's not to hide away from those challenges. In fact, the more you step out, the more your higher self shows up and leads you. Yeah. And the more you feel expansive and bada bing, bada boom. You know? You're here. Yes. You arrived.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, final question.
Yeah.
If your life was a movie, what would it be? Ooh. You can compare it to something. It could be a genre, just whatever comes to you.
Saw. No, I'm joking.
Okay, fair enough. Tell me more. Okay, we're going to need another hour, guys.
No. Well, the first thing that
that's the first thing that came up.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came
all right,
in my head.
Why?
I don't know. I think just because Saw.
Go on.
That little clown on the bike popped into my head. What does that mean? Maybe we do need to like turn this into a counselling session instead of a podcast.
It already has been, trust me. No, so okay. Well, why? What aspects of Saw? Maybe not the whole. What do you see as Saw?
Well, when you said and Saw came to my head, it was that little clown on the bike.
Yeah.
So what does he what does he say? Do you want to play a game?
Want to play a game?
Yeah. So maybe it's that positive aspect. Maybe that was
the humour of it.
Yeah, a positive.
Because the ridiculousness of the horror.
Are you ready to play a game? And if someone asked me that, the game of life, I say, yeah, absolutely, let's go play.
This little man on the bike, and be like, yeah, let's go.
Creepy little guy. With
that's one way to face your challenges. If you got somebody like that, and you say, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That means you're trusting your higher self in a big way.
Yeah.
It's cool in a way that you've actually chosen that, because it can be horrifying, but you trust your higher self enough to take you through.
When I said it, I didn't think of it from a scary point of view. It was just him on the bike.
Yeah. But either way, what is fear is facing the unknown.
Yeah.
And you're saying, I'm willing to face the unknown.
Yeah.
And Saw is a representation of facing the unknown, because the higher self is going to show up and guide you through it.
Yeah. Saw.
Shall we say?
Saw then?
I like that. It's like very... I was not expecting that, but you know what?
The second one was True Romance.
That's an epic film.
But
okay, so what does that mean then? Saw, and what does that mean in your life? Let's say it regards to what does your life look like? Not even naming a film, but what does that mean? What does your life look like up to this point?
So I think True Romance, because taking, that obviously we have that, they go through all of the things in that movie, and I feel like, I don't know, I think I've always resonated. I can't remember what's the girl's name in it. I've always really liked her.
Patricia Arquette?
Yeah, but in the movie, the character in the movie, I really like her in the movie. I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm talking about you. So you're like, what is your life in a movie? So you're like her, you're defying authority, kind of laugh in the face of danger, and you sort of just live your life.
Just carefree, don't care, and she falls in love with him within about 5 minutes, and I've been through, like I mentioned, that toxic relationship, but I got engaged at Christmas to someone who's completely the opposite, supports me in everything that I do, and I've been able, I'd say that now I'm living not just the relationship, but in my life, my own true romance, because 5 years ago, this would be what I'm doing now was like, oh my God, I want to live that. I want that perfect life.
Okay.
For me.
So it's been brave enough to confront the fears, and going, all right, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and go through all of the things, and
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you. It's been absolutely lovely to have you on and to chat. And I'm glad that you've enjoyed yourself. And
yes,
I don't think it's the last time you're going to come to our cafe, is it?
No, definitely not. I'm going to bring the dogs.
Lovely. Bring everybody you've ever met.
Yeah, the dogs I will. And the matcha's good as well,
Yeah? You happy with the matcha?
Happy with the matcha.
For you. There you go. All right, Joanne. Well,
thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you very much.
We vibe when you subscribe.